find myself fascinated by the speedrunning community. These gamers are in a class of their own. Somehow they have the time, the skill, the stamina, and the patience to break down every single nook, cranny, pixel, and glitch of a game, all in pursuit of being the one who can beat the game in the fastest possible time. I'll talk about getting your money's worth. And with Twitch and YouTube, this community of gamers have more resources at their disposal to show off their skills as they attempt to make video games their bitch. So today, we'll talk about the art of the speedrun, next on Downloadable Content. Welcome to Downloadable Content. I am Brian, and with me we have Ron.
Hi, everyone.
So yes, we're going to be talking about speedrunning today, because it's an interesting topic, and it's something that I've been paying more attention to over the last few months. So, before we dive into that discussion, just want to let everyone know that every single episode of Downloadable Content can be found on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, and Google Play Music, as well as our website, dlcpodcast.com. Give us feedback, check out upcoming recordings, let us know if you want to be in on an episode, give us ideas for future episodes. We'd love to hear your thoughts. dlcpodcast.com. Alrighty. So, speedrunning!
Yep.
Speedrunning today.
What was your first foray into it, basically?
Well, in the little downtime I had this summer, I was seeing, I check YouTube, I go on YouTube every so often, and I would see videos for a charity speedrunning event called Summer Games Done Quick.
Uh-huh.
And just, curiosity, I'm seeing, people are beating games that I've played and beaten in far faster than I could ever hope to beat. Like, there were some of the games that were shown, like somebody beat Final Fantasy VII in under 8 hours.
Yep.
Or, somebody beat the original Kirby's Dream Land for Game Boy. The extra mode, the extra quest, in like 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the most impressive one was Dragon Warrior 1 for the NES that was beaten in like half an hour.
Yep.
So I, was watching some of these videos, and I'm just blown away at the technical skill and prowess that these speedrunners have devoted themselves to through these games. It's just like all these games that I grew up with and played and loved and sweated over.
Yeah.
And these gamers are just running through them and making them their bitch and just mastering the game so utterly, completely, that it's just like, I was tempted to just give a standing ovation right here in my living room. Like, bravo. Also, you suck, but well done.
Yeah. So you saw it this year. For me, I started watching speedrunning during Summer Games Done Quick. This would have been like 2013, 2014. Okay. So I've been like casually watching for a few years now, and was like similar to you, was just fascinated with how people were beating some of these games so fast. And how the organization hosting this was able to incentivize it and try and create stretch goals for additional challenges, or whether you save or kill the animals in a Super Metroid run or something like that. And really, pretty much ever since then, I always watched them if I see one that catches my eye in terms of how the game for it.
And also, just to add an extra point for the games done quick, 'cause I think they do them twice a year, once in the winter and once in the summer.
Yeah, and I think the summer, usually the summer ones is Doctors Without Borders, and then the winter ones usually Cancer Research and Prevention Center, I believe.
Right, so they're speed running for charity, which is, a really cool way to raise money, as well. Just when you mention that there's stretch goals, it's like the money's not being pocketed by the speedrunners. It's extra money that's going to the charity that particular event is raising money for.
Yeah, and I believe for over the past couple years, the events have hit in 1.5, 1.75, 2 million. I think the summer this year was 2.25 million raised over a course of a week, I think.
Well, I looked that up. Because the winter version is
Awesome Games Done Quick.
Awesome Games Done Quick. Summer Games Done Quick. For this past Summer Games Done Quick, so it went on for a week, and it raised over $2 million. It was the first Summer Games Done Quick to break the $2 million mark.
Yeah, I think that was about it, right?
Yep, and it started in the Summer Games Done Quick was started in 2011.
Yeah.
And for the first couple of years, they were raising money for the Organization for Autism Research. Then, starting in 2013, it's been Doctors Without Borders. The Awesome Games Done Quick from 2011 on, it's been the Prevent Cancer Foundation.
Yeah, that's what I knew. I was trying to remember which one it was. I knew one was Doctors Without Borders and one was the cancer prevention, but I didn't remember that they did the couple years for the first one for the autism.
So just, and I also follow outside of Games Done Quick. You also catch sometimes. I follow Kotaku on Facebook, and occasionally I'll see a news article pop up of people who are doing speedrunning at home, trying to go for a world record. Now with the Games Done Quick, they're not necessarily shooting for world records. I mean, sometimes they do happen. Yeah.
Generally speaking, for Games Done Quick, they have timed it out to be pretty accurate down to a 5-10 minute window, depending upon the game, to be we expect to beat the game in X amount of time. And at the rate that they're going, many ways for them to mess up, but it's just the practice motions and knowing where to move and how to move on the screen at what point in time, and doing that repeated action hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of times, has led to them being able to just almost mindlessly, just without thought, just muscle memory, pushing in the inputs to avoid things by pixels between getting hit and dying, or getting by the bad guy and surviving, or whatever.
So that again, I bring up the Dragon Warrior speedrun for the last Summer Games Done Quick, because one of the things I really liked about watching some of these speedruns was that either the player or the player's couch friends were explaining how this speedrun was going, what sort of tricks or tools was being utilized. And for the ones that were not using tool-assisted, that weren't tool-assisted, and that's a whole nother avenue that we'll get to.
Tool-assisted software to help with inputs.
But the ones that were just, playing by themselves, just explaining. And Dragon Warrior, the player figured out how to manipulate the RNG just right to be able to get the specific item drop or the specific battle or to score a critical hit every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I was so impressed with just how the time that needed, the time that the player needed to put in to memorize the exact spots on the world map, on the NES cartridge, where exactly the RNG was going to be of the most benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, some of it's also a case, too, where depending upon the game being run, so, for example, if it's an NES game or Super Nintendo game, this tends to happen more often than not. But, like, a community for speedrunning in that game will arise out of it. So, for example, the Dragon Warrior game, I would imagine that the community for Dragon Warrior 1 has developed this list of, like, RNG manipulation over the course of several years of running the game, and have now, like, got, like, basically a giant Google document that anyone can, like, look at and be like, oh, if I step on, like, these tiles in this order, I have, like, a 2% chance of getting into a battle, and even if I do, I'm guaranteed a critical hit in the very first swing.
Yeah, and that's true for a lot of games. Like, you'll find message boards and websites and forums, like, for Mario Kart levels, for example, how you can cut corners to get the fastest time on a particular lap, or...
I know for Chrono Trigger, there's a specific frame you gotta look for on the loading screen to get the right RNG seed to basically manipulate, like, 3/4 of the game in terms of the right RNG for boss battles and things like that.
Yeah, or, we mentioned a little bit on the Ocarina of Time episode, people who figured out where to set the camera up so that you fall, and you fall off this ledge, but you clip a wall, and in doing so, triggers a glitch that takes you right to Ganon.
Yeah. Other things that in there usually include wall glitching, so you glitch out of bounds and start running along the walls of the lower corner of the map.
Yeah.
To, like, skip large sections of the game. This is a thing that's done a lot in Ocarina of Time, and even in Metroid Prime. There's a lot of wall glitching in Metroid Prime where it's just like combination of, like, morph ball bombing and a couple other things. So get yourself into a wall glitch and just start jumping through, like, large sections of the game and just bypassing doors you wouldn't normally be able to access until you got a different power up, like, in a different corner of the map.
Yeah, and from this community of gamers, you've got, especially with the internet now, you could find, if you were interested in trying to speedrun and break a world record for a game, you could find, there are many resources out there where you could find, what pixel you need to hit to trigger that glitch, or how do you get to that pixel, or, that spot on the map, or in level.
Mm-hmm.
One of the more infamous speed games to speedrun is the original Super Mario Brothers, which is, it's, there are YouTube videos explaining how to hit a specific pixel in a specific world, so that we're down to the point where world record time is now
changes by milliseconds.
Yeah, it changes by, I think we're into the hundredths or thousandths of a second at this point.
Yeah, and mind you, when we're saying this, we're not talking about, like, a tool doing this or some sort of program doing all these inputs. No, this is a human holding a literal NES controller doing all this stuff.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to talk about tool-assisted speedruns, which is another, subcategory within the speedrunning community. We're just right now just talking about a human player.
Yeah, just human player, just regular Joe Schmo holding controller, just doing all the inputs and just blazing through these levels like they're the freaking Terminator.
And right now the world record time is, like, for Super Mario Brothers,
It's like 7 minutes or something like that, like 7:20, 7:30.
It's 4 minutes 56.245 seconds.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. And it reminds you that when we were talking about that glitch earlier, that like to save a couple to like break through some like animations in Super Mario Brothers, that was a glitch that was discovered a year or two ago, and the time save is literally about a half a second. And that's how small of a glitch it is, and how small of a save it is. But every single world record has that glitch now.
Yes, and as I was saying, we got down to like a 5 minute. It was like a 5 minute time, and then 4:59, and now we are in the thousandths of a second for Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
and you can find all of these on YouTube.
Yeah, like the vast majority of these world records, not just like someone saying, "Oh, you can beat Super Metroid in 4.5 minutes." No, it's they like stream, and they like have video evidence being like, "No, this is me doing it with me holding the controller," because I believe a couple of the world records for the Super Mario Brothers is by the same guy, and it shows on the video him holding the controller.
Yep, you've got like for the Super Mario Brothers records, it's like it goes back and forth between two YouTube users, Darbian and Cosmic D12.
Mm-hmm.
Like those two keep going back and forth with the world records.
Yeah.
And I mean that's part of the quote unquote rules of the speedrunning community. If you're gonna do a world record, you have to provide video evidence. So a lot of these, especially with Twitch now and live streaming, you could actually see these world records being done in real time, and there's a vast community out there who will watch these streamers for hours. Like if these speedrunners, goof, if they mistime a single pixel, start all over.
Yep. It's probably one of the the one that got my attention first was Super Metroid, and that speedrun when I first saw it was like a 44 or 45 minute speedrun. The world record for it now is like 41:19 or something like that. It is like 4 minutes saved over a course of 4 years, and that's partially due to a couple glitches being found in terms of how you get power-ups and things like that, but the vast majority of that is just straight-up execution. Yeah,
right now, the world record for Super Metroid, as of this recording, it's currently Sunday, September 9th. The most recent world record was established 1 week ago today, September 2nd. The current time is 41 minutes, 18 seconds.
Yeah, and it's just like, think about that. You're playing through Super Metroid at home when you're 9 or 10. 41 minutes in, you're lucky if you're killing the crane, probably.
And that's any percent. So that's just something we'll be talking about as we progress in this episode. There are typically like the major categories of speedruns are any percent, which is just that
beat the game as fast as you can.
Beat it as fast as you can. That involve it's glitches. However you need to get to the start of the game to the end credits.
Yeah.
Any percent. And the other major category is 100%.
Yep.
Which is
as it sounds.
As it sounds, the quickest, beating the game as fast as you can while completing every single aspect of the game.
Mm-hmm. Usually there's other categories too, where it's like usually another one that's most common is called 100% glitchless.
Yep.
And for that, this is like beating the game without abusing things that are not intended. So, for example, in Final Fantasy IV, the 100% record for that like 4 or 5 hours, and most of that's just getting down to the Dwarf Castle and beating the the getting down the dwarf castle and being the two guys there. Because after that, all you gotta do is just there's a glitch where you manipulate the coding in the game and item manipulation inventory, and you walk up and down the stairs like 64 times. And with the item manipulation, after walking up and down the stairs 64 times, you skip all the way to Zeromus after he's dead, and you get the end game credits right there.
Yep.
And like that's it is a glitch run of any % in Final Fantasy IV. But a glitchless will be like, no, you can't do that. You have to play the game without abusing. There's two main ones in Final Fantasy IV. One is called the MP underflow glitch, where you can manipulate the MP of certain allies in your party to have it hit to go below 0, and once it goes to below 0, instead of just staying at 0, the game underflows it to be like 55,000 MP. But you can only use that MP in battle. But when you're having someone like Tella, who's limited normally by how minor his mana pool is, well, you have Tella. He has Medio. Just casting Medio every battle for like 5 or 6 bosses is how you beat the half the fights in the like early to mid game of the Final Fantasy IV.
So, again, like if you're you're a speedrunner, you need to do so much. You need to spend so much time figuring out. I mean, obviously, a lot of this is done, but there are people who are finding new glitches and new ways to shave fractions of seconds all the time. But the legwork that has to be done, like, what is it that drives somebody to try to find any possible way to break the game? It's like, how do you know where to look?
Some of it's also just due to devotion or love of the game. So some people will, like, some of the people that that are doing speedrunning start off just being fans of the game and just wanting to get better at the game and being it faster and faster. Other times people get into it because they like the speedrunning side of it itself, where it's not necessarily like they may enjoy the base game, but they like the challenge and the mechanics behind like certain inputs to glitch through a wall or beating a particular boss as fast as you can because it manipulates RNG later on for other bosses or things like that. And to say I'm a speedrunner, it's more like it's like calling someone who's like got like a bench crew, like your work buddies playing basketball, calling them an NBA player.
Fair enough.
It's like yes, I can, and then I pretend I can, but if I actually attempted to do as well as these guys do, I would need to spend hundreds of hours to get even remotely close to them in terms of like the racing and the quality behind it. So, like,
there was a new glitch, and it's just when I see articles from Kotaku or IGN that mention like a brand new glitch that has been discovered in a 20 or 30 year old game. Like, one that I think was last year or a couple years ago was somebody discovered the credits warp in Super Mario World, where right from the first level, if you execute a particular series of moves on the controller, it rearranges the data on the cartridge in such a way that it immediately warps you to the credits.
Yeah, it's just like things like that where you just like go. At that point, you're not even playing. You're not even speedrunning the game as much as you are just like programming and hacking the cartridge itself. And then we get into things like tool assisted software or TaskBot, where it's like, oh look, I'm playing Super Mario World on the SNES, but I'm going to do with this tool and basically just like hack the cartridge and program it to. Now I'm connected to Twitch chat in live, and it's like 16-bit Twitch chat on stream. That was really what someone did for a Summer Games Done Quick like 2 or 3 years ago. Was they used a taskbot to like literally hook up to the internet and like complete with dial tone sound, because that's apparently on the cartridge somewhere or on the Super Nintendo, and connect to Twitch chat for the Summer Games Done Quick. And just like, that's not even a speed run. That's you like hacking the game with like massively fast inputs that no human could do.
Which in some ways is fun to watch. Just seeing a bot just blaze through the game.
Yeah.
In some ways that's fun, but I mean, I do enjoy, the human speedruns far more. But like when I was younger, like, my only very slight dab into speedrunning was Resident Evil 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I loved that game, and I still do. It's one of my favorite video games. It's Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. And, I initially, when I first played the game, I beat the game in like 7-8 hours. And I played it so often that I managed to get through the game. I became so good at it that I could beat the game without saving or anything in under an hour and a half.
What is the world record for Resident Evil 3 anyway? Like 25 minutes or something?
I'm about to look that up now. So we're talking PlayStation 1. I could have made a serious run. The world record time, it's any percent. World record time for Resident Evil 3 on the PS1 is 1 hour, 13 minutes, 56 seconds.
That's not that bad. You're 20 minutes off world record. You can get that.
I'm like, any percent? Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit. If I get back into it, then maybe refamiliarize myself with the with it. It's like, oh crap. And here I was just farting around at like age 13, 14.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta see if 32-year-old me still has the reflexes.
Yeah, but it's just like things like that where you just look at it and you go like, that's not possible. That can't do that. Then you sit down and you do it, and it's like, actually, maybe. And that's like, it doesn't even have to be anything like you don't have to be serious about it. You just like do it for fun and just see how far you get into it. Just like in a casual sense.
Although I'm looking at the different flavors of the speedrunning categories for Resident Evil 3, and there's the any percent, then there's any percent but using only the knife only.
Knife percent.
Knife. Get any percent, but the only weapon you can use is the knife. And world record time is just under 1 hour and 20 minutes, and I'm just like, no. Like, the knife in Resident Evil 2 and 3 is basically like, it's like having a butter knife. It's just, no.
I'd imagine that's probably the extra time just due to execution for beating Nemesis at the end.
Well,
who's the boss and who's the last thing in 3?
It's Nemesis.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say 3 is the one with the Nemesis is being your Freddy Krueger of the game, right?
Yeah, he chases you.
Yeah, okay, I wasn't wrong.
He chases you throughout the game, but yeah, it's just so there are games out there that are great for speedrunning, and you mentioned this in the Ocarina of Time episode as well, that the speedrunning community has definitely exploded in recent years because of the internet. There's more out there, and you mentioned that as a direct result of this, it's given life to a lot of older games.
Mm-hmm. So generally speaking, with a lot of the speedrunning games, I've found are generally speaking Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis or regular Nintendo games or Game Boy Color or something like that. But generally speaking, it's like the 8 and 16-bit era of video games.
So the sprite-based games.
Yeah. Part of this is due to the programming done back then, because a lot of the programming things done back then are a lot easier to do and manipulate and break compared to like most games nowadays. But also it's just due to, at the time, the hardness of them. So like, for example, like the Battletoads, there's a speedrun for Battletoads, and it's like 25-30 minutes, I think, to beat Battletoads. And like, that's a game that cheats to kill you. It's not meant to be beaten in a normal like sense of like, this is a game that's poorly coded to begin with. It cheats to kill you multiple times, and the speedrunning community is just like, yeah, no, we can still beat this game in like 30 minutes, and it's not even like that difficult.
Okay. So I'm just gonna to blow your mind a little bit. The any percent world record for Battletoads.
Yeah.
1 minute 15 seconds.
So there's a credit glitch in there somewhere.
So, what is the there's a category in here, any percent no WW. I don't know what WW stands for. Oh, wrong warp. So you cannot use a warp. So any percent no wrong warp is 12 minutes 38 seconds.
Yeah, and it's just like, think about that for a second. Your 10-year-old you is playing Battletoads. How far in do you think you'd be at 12 minutes? Maybe if you're lucky, you're done with World 1. Maybe.
I've played Battletoads. For me, 12 minutes in, we have a broken game.
Yeah, that's the point. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to go for here. Like, Battletoads is not necessarily a easy game, not even just because of the fact that it cheats, but also because it's pretty poorly coded. But people are like, here's a game that like people like used to make fun of it. It's like, this is a terrible game. Why would anyone want to play this game? All right, well, here are people not even playing it, but they're beating the game in 12 minutes.
The 100% for Battletoads,
20 minutes.
Little more, 28 minutes 37 seconds.
And that might be what had been shown. What had been shown during one of the Summer Games on Click.
This record was established almost a month ago.
Yeah, and so just think about that. Like, just think about Battletoads. All right, well, how about Ninja Gaiden? Well, Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2 or whatever are probably like 10 minutes.
Another game which, if I were to attempt a speedrun, it would be.
Yeah, lead to broken controllers and busted LCD screens and things like that.
Any percent for Ninja Gaiden, 11 minutes 38 seconds.
Yeah, and like, just think about that. Like, Ninja Gaiden, like Battletoads, Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior, Final Fantasy 1. Like, these are games we're naming that like people have spent like hours and hours on playing, and the people that are speedrunning it, like 10 minutes, 12 minutes, just blazing through it, just with mostly pure execution, maybe some glitches along the way. But these are also games that people have not played probably in 30 years in some cases. Some people haven't even been alive when these games came out, and they're getting to see these games for the first time and seeing them be played in a quote unquote optimal sense. But they still get to be shown to people that are unfamiliar. Like, part of the reason why Summer Games on Click does so well is because they're not only do they stream on Twitch, but also like a lot of the games they're showing are older games that didn't get shown previously.
Yep.
And like games that like they've said that like they've had people come into the streaming community, like the speedrunning community, who didn't even know the game existed prior to seeing it on like on a Summer Games on Quick or an Awesome Games on Quick. And it's just like, in some cases, like some of the runners weren't even alive when the game came out. It's just mind-boggling to think that like, here's a game that like you weren't even a glint in your old mom and pop's eye, and and you're playing this game and like potentially going for a world record in these games, and it's just so much life and like giving additional like my words are failing me. This like the more longevity to a game,
more replay.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. More replayability to a game that you probably are only meant to beat once and then be done with it.
Yes, and as you mentioned, the sprite-based games, the cartridge-based games, they're much easier to find and exploit glitches.
Yeah, but there's still glitches in the modern day games, like I mentioned with Metroid Prime. Like That's a GameCube game. That's a relatively recent game, and there's glitches in that make the game be beaten in an hour and 30.
World record time for any percent is 1 hour 12 minutes 7 seconds.
Yeah, like so I remember playing Metroid Prime when it first came out. I got that game for Christmas. I beat that game in like 7 hours, and I felt pretty fast, and I felt like I did that pretty good. Like an hour 12 minutes in, I was probably just now regaining all the functions I had from the various suits and all the missiles and stuff. Like an hour 12 in, someone was beating the game. Just mind blowing in some cases.
Yeah. In the top 100 for Metroid Prime, the 100th place time is 2 hours 18 minutes 47 seconds.
Yeah, like 2 hours, like 2 hours. That's how fast people used to beat normal Super Metroid back when that was vanilla.
Yes, so that time wouldn't even get you into the top 100 if in Metroid Prime now.
Yeah. It's just insane that, like, and a lot of this is due to some of the glitches that have been found, where it's just like the wall glitches, the sequence breaking, and things like that. And some of this is due to abusing things that were not meant to occur in the game, but that's part of the whole point of the category of calling it a speedrun is beat the game as fast as you can by what you can do with just the controller in your hand.
Yes. And for those of you listening, the world record times I'm finding is on a website called speedrun.com. Simple, tells the story. That's basically the big database website for speedrunning. So that's where I'm getting all these times from, and it's funny, you're mentioning that, you beat Metroid Prime in 7 hours and you thought that was the shit. I'm looking at the 100% leaderboard.
Yeah. That's 100%. I'm going to take a guess here. 100% in Metroid Prime, 4 hours.
4 hours puts you 56th place.
Jesus.
4 hours puts you in 56th place. World record time for 100% on Metroid Prime, 1 hour 34 minutes 7 seconds.
Jeez. And it's just like things like that where you just look at that and go, how is that even possible? And
well, go on, Ron. Just
yeah.
As soon as we're done here, you can take a stab at it.
Yeah, no thanks. I'm good. I'm good right now. Thank you. I don't want to learn the wall glitching in Metroid Prime, because that's an art.
That is, and I said in the intro, it's the art of the speedrun. Just watching how utterly beautiful and masterful. Just watching these games get wrecked. Mm-hmm. It's an absolutely amazing thing to see. Just watching these games get so beautifully destroyed, and I'm just like, bless you, but also,
yeah.
I like some of these games I would love to take a stab at myself, but I'm just like, I don't have the time. Where do you find the time?
I mean, and that's part of the thing too, is a lot of these people nowadays are streaming on Twitch, so therefore whenever they stream is also when they're speedrunning. So they kind of like double dip in sense of like this like kind of sort of their job. But depending upon how many people you have watching you, could have anywhere between 1 person to 1,000 people watching you,
or more.
depending upon what game you're and depending upon what game you're speedrunning.
And, people will throw money at you. It's...
Yeah, they'll throw money at you and, like, congratulate you on a particularly good speed run or challenge you. Be like, I bet you can't beat Ridley in under 20 minutes or something like that. And it's just like, did you realize that his current world record pace, like the current pace he's got on his tracker, does say he does beat Ridley at, like, 1930 on average, right?
It's like, just saying.
Yeah. And it's just like dumb challenges and things like that, and people watch, and sometimes they want to congratulate someone on a run, or times they make a dumb bet with the viewer or the streamer and think that they should own up to it. And
meanwhile, we just had a new world record time for Final Fantasy VII almost 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, for world 100%?
Any percent.
Any percent, okay.
Any percent. 7 hours, 55 seconds.
Yeah, and that former record was... And that's another thing, too, is for Final Fantasy 7, for the longest time, the former world record was like 7:30 or 7:34. Like 2 months ago, they found a new glitch that's a very easy to execute sequence break that basically skips the first, like, 20-25 minutes of the game after the first reactor scene.
Yeah, we had 3 years ago, the world record time was 7 hours 28 minutes.
Yeah, and that was pretty much the gold standard. Then this glitch gets found, and like now it's literally 7 hours.
Yep, and then that was 3 years ago. Then 1 year ago, we had it was June 28th, 2017. That went from 7.5 hours to 7 hours 19 minutes.
Yeah.
And then 2.5 weeks ago, so August 22nd, somebody turned in a run of 7 hours, 0 minutes, 55 seconds.
Yeah, and that's just due to the glitch, and like most of that for the glitch itself is not even that. Like the video for it was found for the glitch itself was discovered. I can't remember, like a month ago, if that. And like within a month, people have figured out how to mimic this glitch and do it so fast that it's basically just become part of the run now.
So those times I was mentioning, that's for any percent using the PS1 disc. So that's using the original game.
Yeah.
So if you're playing this on a PS4, which means you're playing this, there's no disc.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a download.
Fast with load times, generally speaking.
World record time right now is 3 hours, 14 minutes, 28 seconds.
Yeah.
And that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and again, that's just due to the fact that like there's no loading times.
Yeah. Like the fact that loading times adds 4 hours if you're using the original discs.
Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, in the streaming community and the speedrunning community is like, yeah, that like no problem, sure, no water off our back.
Yeah. So, well, you weren't kidding about. Somebody must have found a new glitch recently because there have been 5 new records on PS4 within the last 6 months.
Yeah, so
4 of them coming within the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, no. The glitch itself was found, I want to say, about a month ago.
Okay.
And
people are going nuts.
Yeah, people are basically going nuts. So to explain it to you, Brian, briefly, after getting done with the first reactor scene, and you get to you're done with talking with Barrett and Tifa and getting ready to go assault the second reactor.
Right.
And you remember that there's those 2 Shinra guards that are blocking you from going down near the pillar, where that would normally lead you to a way to get to Sector 7, and where like Ares' house is, and lead to the lead to the gold market. Yeah. Previously, people didn't know how to like kind of like clip through it and glitch through it. They figured out how to do that. So that skips the entire like reactor fight. That skips the whole chapel scene with Ares. And that skips going to her house and listening to a couple of cutscenes there. And it skips the entire carriage scene too with with Tifa going through to Don Cornello's, and you just wind up right at the gate, still with Barrett and Tifa in your party, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that shaves off some minutes.
Yeah, like that's 20 minutes saved almost right there. And that's pretty much what this new glitch is. Everything else is still stayed the same. Most of the routing has changed a little bit differently just to make up for the fact that now you're missing out on a couple items and a couple EXP boosts and things like that. But those are things that you can easily make up at that early stage of the game.
Right. So it's a lot of diving in and going through and planning and discovering all these glitches. And again, Final Fantasy VII is a game that is 21 years old, and people are still finding stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're still finding stuff. So we've gone about 45 minutes, so we will wind down the first half here. We'll talk more about this. We'll also talk about the tool-assisted speedruns.
Yeah.
On the second half. So brace yourselves for that. So you'll have some music. We'll cut out. You are listening to The Art of the Speedrun here on Downloadable Content with Ron and myself. We will be back. Welcome back to Downloadable Content. We sped through that intermission. No glitches involved.
No tool assisted software, nothing like that.
Nope.
Pure natural grit.
Yep. Absolutely, raw talent and yeah. So, still talking about speedrunning and the insanity that involves. I said at the end of the first half, we're going to be talking about the tool-assisted speedruns. going to open up with that. Apparently, the term tool-assisted speedrun was a creation of the days of the late 90s when speedrunning through the game Doom was a big thing.
Yeah.
And players started recording these types of special sort of speedruns when somebody released a modified version of the Doom source code.
Oh, joy.
So, in the early going here, so like the speedrunning community in the 90s when Doom was the thing.
Yeah.
The community stressed that these tool-assisted speedruns were for entertainment purposes only, rather than for skill competitions.
I mean, because to be fair, they want to make the decision very early on because they want to show that yes, tool-assisted software can help you do things that no human could ever hope to do. But if this is meant to be a competition based on your own skill and your own mechanics and execution, then it should probably, not have anything but the controller used to make sure you can actually do these things.
The funny thing is that even though the Doom community said that these tool-assisted speedruns are for entertainment purposes only, they're not for skill competitions. It eventually came a competition in itself.
Yeah, to program the best bot to break the game.
Yeah, and then in 2001, the community shut down the website that was hosting the information for Doom speedruns, and as a result, Doom is not really speedrun anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just because it's not run now doesn't mean people still don't run it on occasion for fun.
Tool-assisted speedruns started making a comeback in 2003 when somebody, an anonymous speedrunner, put up a video showing Super Mario Bros. 3, a speedrun of Super Mario Bros. 3 with an unprecedented level of skill, according to Wikipedia. The game was beaten in just over 11 minutes without making a single mistake, and he managed to accumulate 99 one-ups during levels in which he had to wait. And when he actually after he came out and said, yeah, this is actually was created with a task bot, he got a lot of flack.
Yeah, you would, especially in that community, which is all like purity of the game and not having any machines interfere. This is us against the machines, not vice versa. Blah 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 blah.
But even I mean that subsided, and now you can go on YouTube and find videos of TaskBot speedruns, which are okay. They're a lot of people don't consider them legitimate speedruns, and I get that, but they're kind of fun to see.
It's so fun to watch.
They're kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like, all right, a human can break the game. Let's see how a bot can even break it more.
Yeah. If you even can do this, what can a bot do?
And I've watched like Mario speedruns with task bots, and I'm just like, yeah, that is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
A human cannot do that.
Yeah, not really.
Like, no, but it's just fun watching task bots make the game a bitch.
Yeah.
Because what was I just lost where I just lost it. I just lost my train of thought.
Going off the rails.
It's gone off the rails. I'll come back to it.
Okay.
I'll come back to it when the lazy Susan of my brain
reemerges.
So, as we mentioned, the popular speedrunning games of choice tend to be the sprite-based games, but as we've also discussed, there are, more recent games, the cartridge-based games or your digital downloads that still, people find them.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me goes, you found all this stuff. Why aren't you a beta tester for some AAA company?
I mean, some of it is that they beta test this stuff and that they do this stuff in the off time for fun, and other times it's they just want a challenge and they want to show that just because you think your coding's good doesn't mean someone else can't break it.
One such game that I know that a lot of people like to speedrun is Dark Souls.
Yes, that is definitely one of the more popular speedrun games.
And I'm just like, you are such a glutton for punishment. Like, I saw an article not too long ago that somebody did a speedrun going through all 3 games without dying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, how many hours did you have to sink to be able to master the game? Because Dark Souls, as we all know, is not an easy game.
No, it is not.
And for somebody to go through all 3 games consecutively,
mm-hmm.
just like, wow, bravo.
Yeah, round of applause for that, man.
Yeah, like I'm just looking at the speedrun.com. What are the most popular games that are currently being played for speedruns? Cuphead.
Yep. And it says something too. Like, Cuphead's a game that came out 6 months ago.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, came out 6 months ago, and there's already a community built around speedrunning the game, and that's not even just due to the game being bad or anything like that. No, the game's that fun, and that people are enjoying it that much. They want to break the game over its knees and make it its bitch.
Yeah, and right now, the any percent world record for Cuphead is 20 minutes and 56 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, I know that I haven't played Cuphead. I want to play Cuphead. I know it's a ridiculously hard game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's, a platforming game that I just recently started? Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about that.
That's probably 2 hours or 2.5 hours, something like that.
For any percent?
For Hollow Knight, I'd say any percent, probably 90 minutes.
34.
Okay. So this is a case in point.
34 minutes, 23 seconds is the current world record time. You said, what did you say, 90 minutes? What was your guess?
I was thinking 90 minutes was going to be my initial guess.
That would be good for 121st place. But there's a lot of categories here. Do you have any percent, 112%?
Yeah.
True ending, all skills, all glitches. That one's broken down into a ton of different categories. But I'm seeing what the most popular games on speedrun.com are being run at. What are the most popular games being played? And there's a nice mix of new and old here. Like, people are still trying to shave off seconds in Super Mario Brothers, A Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Super Mario World. Portal is up here.
Yeah. Another thing too is, maybe we can get into this a little bit later on, but the randomizer community as well.
You can get into it now.
Okay, so for those unaware,
because this is new to me.
So for those unaware, there's a community that's been coming out relatively recently that takes a base game, and probably the most common two are A Link to the Past and Final Fantasy IV. And what they do is, for Link to the Past, it's literally just you start the game, and the goal of the game is to beat Ganon. Plain and simple like that.
Yep.
And how you beat Ganon, you gotta get the 7 crystals, and you have to get the Master Sword to, be able to hit the bastard. All those items, all those things you need to beat, all those things you need to get to the castle to beat him, all those things get shuffled up. So, for example, usually in the Eastern Palace would be where you get the bow and arrow. Well, now maybe it's the hookshot. Or maybe it's the Cane of Samaria. Or maybe it's the Master Sword.
What is the thing that randomizes the game?
So what does it is there's a algorithm that the people have worked on this randomizer have done, and the algorithm randomizes the game, and whenever you go to download the game, what you do is you provide the base game, like the base coding of the game, which is like Link to the Past, Japanese 1.0 cartridge data, which would be acquired through various things. But the thing with this is that all it's doing is just shuffling up the numbers. It's not changing the base game at all. So it still can be run on normal Super NES hardware. It's just that you need to have the data for the SNES to run it on, which is usually done through a flash card of some kind.
Okay.
And the algorithm has been programmed to make it so that nothing impossible can happen. So, like, for example, it's not possible to get through the entire game in Link to the Past without discovering both glove upgrades and having them be locked behind, like, Ganon's Tower, for example, because you would need both glove upgrades to get to Ganon's Tower in the first place.
Okay.
So the algorithm is designed to shuffle up the items and make it so that it is beatable without requiring, like, major glitches of some kind. So you don't like flip through walls and get into areas where you shouldn't be able to normally do so.
Okay.
The next one, the second one, I call out as Final Fantasy IV. Now this one's a little bit different. Previously for Final Fantasy IV, you would have to go through the story and go through and get Cecil to become a paladin and get the airship after getting going to Baron again to start the game off. Well, this time instead, how the community has built this randomizer is you just start the game with the Enterprise and 2 characters. They can be random. It can be Baby Rydia and Edward, and go beat the game with everything being randomized: chest locations, item locations, boss encounters, things like that. Go beat the game. And all you need to do to beat the game is get to the moon and get the crystal to beat Zeramis. That's it. You could beat the game with a party of Baby Rydia, Edward, Tella, Fusoya, and Kain, just as an example. Like, yeah, you can beat the game with that party.
And you said since bosses are shuffled, it's possible to get Zeramis on the first one.
Zeramis is the only one that doesn't move. Everyone else gets moved.
Oh, okay.
I was
so
what
say,
happens?
like, cause if you pull, the first boss is Zeramis.
Yeah. So what happens is when a boss gets shuffled, its weaknesses get carried with it, but the boss that you fight there normally, it gains that creature's stats. So, for example, you might fight Golbez in the Mist Dragon spot, or conversely, you may fight Evil Wall in the Calabrina in the underground. So it's a case of, and in some of these things, you get sort of funny interactions. So, for example, in the Calabrina one, it carries over the dancing animation. So sometimes you get things like Milan Z is dancing to be like, hee 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 hee, I'm gonna have fun and stomp over all of your corpse. Then Milan Z shows up and has Calabrina's attacks and stats and speed and HP. Or it could be probably the most fun example is Wyvern. So for those who aren't aware, Wyvern is a optional boss in Final Fantasy IV, who the very first thing he does, and I mean literally the very first thing he does, is cast Mega Nuke. And with the randomizer, it can be set to that he does cast Mega Nuke still. Now, he still casts Mega Nuke based on the magic stat of the thing in the area, but Mega Nuke has a particular damage multiplier. So even if you're fighting... So, as an example, I had this happen to me recently. I fought Wyvern in the Mist Dragon spot, which is like the very first boss in the game. Literally the first boss in the game.
Yep.
Mega Nuke still did 1,200 damage to me.
Oh, that's game.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, I guess I'm never coming back here again. So and the joy and the challenge of the randomizer for these games is this shuffles the items, and the algorithm that it uses to shuffle that can be nuanced down to a very specific sense. So, to the point where currently for the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise randomizer, which is what they call it, is FF4FE for Free Enterprise. You can set it to be like, do you want to use Japanese items or not? Do you want to use Japanese abilities or not? How many characters do you want? Do you want to have Edge be potentially found very early on and just like completely blow through the first like everything in the overworld? Do you want to have Fusoya when if you find Fusoya, do you want him to be level 50 with all of his spells learned? Or do you want him to be, more balanced and require you to gain more power for him by beating more bosses? And it's just the nuancing and the customization of that game specifically is so in depth, it's mind-boggling. And everything that I've said and done, described, that's all can still be run on a normal Super Nintendo cartridge. The only thing you need is just to have there be a flash card, because there's because of how the Super Nintendo is what's designed. The cartridge were designed. It was basically just one giant like memory card. So it's not like it's like having to load a program or load a particular set of algorithms or spin up a disk or anything like that. No, it's just one giant memory card is basically what a cartridge is, and if you have a particular adapter that lets you read a SD card, you can run this randomizer on a stock Super Nintendo.
Interesting. I'm kind of half tempted to try that.
And like that, see, Brian, like that was my thing too. I saw someone doing this, and I saw them going through it, and I'm like, all right, I wonder if I could do this. And it's really easy, and it's actually really fun, because for me, I look at it as like a logic puzzle, where I go, okay, I know what the end goal is. I know I have to do X thing. How do I get to do X thing, and how do I want to do it as fast as I can? Or as slow as I can. Usually, again, like the idea behind this thing is just you can take your time with it and have fun with it and just go through and just enjoy yourself if you want to.
Because the randomizer, you can either try to speed run it or, attack it like you were just a regular, leisurely playthrough.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could, in theory, play the game out entirely normally, just begin the game with the Enterprise. And that by itself, just beginning the game with the Enterprise cuts out nearly 4 hours of normal gameplay. Of like normal cutscenes, normal like party swapping and character swapping and random encounters and things like that. Like that all gets eliminated when you just skip to the part where you get the airship.
Yep. That sounds like fun. I mean, I don't have the cartridge for Final Fantasy IV, but I mean,
yeah, you and I know of ways to get it.
Yes. Disclaimer, bullshit, downloadable content.
And not to mention that these are going to be a little bit more difficult to get nowadays because of Nintendo, so...
Well, it's the internet. It never forgets.
It never ever... to our listeners, trust me, the internet never forgets.
But that just sounds cool because, I mean, Final Fantasy IV is probably for me, it's the Final Fantasy that I have beaten the most.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's one of the, I think it's only like one of a couple that I have gone through multiple times and beaten. So randomizing it up just sounds like pretty cool. Just like, oh, first boss, wall.
Yeah. First boss wall, or for example, probably the funniest ones is fighting Rubicant at the Fabul Gauntlet.
Oh god.
And it's just like, here's Rubicant. He still has everything he normally does. He still opens up his cape and he casts Fire 2 and Fire 3 and Glare. He closes his cape and if you attack him, and like normal boss mechanics, but he's got 2,000 HP now instead of 30,000 wherever he normally has. And it's just like...
Whereas, you know, you could run into Mist Dragon right before Zeramus, and...
Yeah, and it's like, oh look, it's Mist Dragon. She attacked 3 times and then turns into Mist. Only she now has stats of Ogopogo. And Ogopogo hits like a goddamn truck.
Yes. So it's like, oh, no, you're not easy. Not anymore.
Oh, look, this is easy. First hit, 3,000 damage, character dead. Well, never mind, hang on.
Fuck.
Hang on a second here. Whoa. Calm down a second. Let's have a polite conversation about this before you turn me into paste.
You're like, hold on, you're not supposed to do that.
Exactly.
That really sounds like fun, actually.
Yeah, so Brian, it sounds fun, and also can be very annoying. So, I don't know if you know how the Dark Knight fight works.
In Final Fantasy IV?
Yes.
It's been a while. Refresh my memory.
So the Dark Knight fight in Final Fantasy IV works by he only does one thing, which is cast the ability called Dark, which is just a giant wave of damage, and it's based on his max HP. Now, normally, whenever Cecil would use it, it's based on his max HP. It also drains his HP. Now, in the boss fight, it doesn't do that. And how you're normally supposed to beat it is just not attack for 3 turns. He'd Dark Waves you 3 times, then he gives his spiel about justice and things like that before he fades away. And in the randomizer, you can still do that. But the Dark Wave still does the percentage max HP of what his max HP is. So, if you, for example, go and fight, go around the area and you go fight Dark Cecil in, I don't know, let's say Evil Wall Spot. That Dark Wave, which it was normally doing like in his normal vanilla spot, was like doing 150, 200 damage. It's now doing about 900 damage. And I don't know if you remember, but Evil Wall is very fast.
It is. That's a timed battle.
Yeah, it is a timed battle. And so the challenge then is, can you take 900 damage 3 times and face tank it, or can you have your healer survive long enough to cast Cure 2 or Cure 3 to keep you alive for someone to eventually get to tank the 3 hits? And then the randomizer also has the added option of removing certain free flags. So, for example, the Water Hag fight, normally you just have to hit the thing 3 times and it dies. Well, in this flag option, that removes that thing, and you have to kill the thing normally. It's still attacking you. That's all it can do is just a basic physical attack. But now instead of hitting it 3 times and having you just go, bleh, you have to kill it normally. Try having that flag turned on and then killing Dark Knight Cecil as a boss in Rubicant fight. That's 30,000 HP.
You ain't coming back from that.
Yeah, no. There are certain things that the randomizer has programmed in so that some things like that can't happen. But there are certain areas where you can get walled off by very difficult fights, like Dark Knight Cecil, or Wyvern, or Ogopogo, or Kainazo as well, can be a very major wall stop in certain situations.
Yeah.
But it's still it's this idea of like the challenge. Then is just like, okay, how do I beat this guy to progress through the rest of the game? Because in some cases you have to beat him.
Yes. I'm looking at the speed run times for Final Fantasy IV.
Yeah.
And so no randomizer. It's just the any percent.
Mm-hmm. Like 3 hours.
Almost 2.
Yeah. And most that's gonna be just literally glitching to the credits. And that's basically just trying to get to the point where you can glitch it.
This is the any percent. You have to beat Zeramis.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is a specific any percent no credit warp. So,
okay.
So you have to defeat Zeramis.
1
hour 54 minutes 50 seconds.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, that's really good. And I mean, I've beaten Final Fantasy IV a few times, but I'm not that good. No way.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, absolutely not. I ain't beaten Final Fantasy IV in just under 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's one sitting. That's a hell no.
Yeah. But like that's the thing too. Is just like this is like the two that I know about right now. Like there could be more that be made out of this. There could be more games that get randomized. I remember hearing rumors that there might be one for Final Fantasy VI, but that's a bit of that one's a little bit harder to randomize just due to how the World of Balance and World of Ruin is constructed.
Yeah, that's a much more involved game.
Yeah.
There's so much more in Final Fantasy VI than there is in 4, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can absolutely see that. Just out of curiosity, I mentioned the amazing Dragon Warrior speedrun at last summer's Summer Games Done Quick.
Yeah.
Any percent, 24 minutes, 41 seconds. There is an any percent no RNG manipulation. 5 hours, 15 minutes, 7 seconds. So you go from 24 minutes to over 5 hours.
Yeah.
It's like you any percent, but play the game as you're supposed to play it.
Mm-hmm. Like that's things like that is like the stuff we're talking about. Like this is like par for the course for some of these games where it's just like go have fun with the game and just beat it like you normally would.
So this community of gamers, they're very, very passionate and they have a freaking blast.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point earlier, it's great to see, especially these older games, getting basically a new life.
Yeah.
Like, games that, they had their heyday, they were popular back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And, these games are coming back in the form of speedrunning, bringing these games to a whole new audience.
Mm-hmm.
Even if a lot of younger gamers will never play these games, they're at least watching somebody go through these. And, it's like, it's good to see, especially these classics, get another life.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's definitely an art and a passion for it. So, the last thing I'll ask you then is, like, if you had the time to speed run a game, what would be your game? Like, pick a game that you really, really love. Or a couple.
I would probably want to speed run, if I could have the time to do so, Super Metroid. Just because I love the Metroid series as a whole. I love the execution-based mechanics behind it. So I think I would really enjoy being able to do that. The other one is what would it be? Maybe Super Metroid, and probably gonna do an RPG. Final Fantasy 7 actually would probably be a pretty interesting speedrun too. I might do that.
That
I
would
can see myself doing that.
Yeah, I can definitely see you doing that. For me, I would actually like to have a crack. I mentioned Resident Evil 3 in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
The old Sonic games, like Sonic 1, Sonic 2.
Yeah, those ones I know have a pretty good following as well, so...
Like, I like the last Summer Games Done Quick, or it was 2 years ago, somebody beat Sonic 2 in like 39 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn.
Exactly. He
That
was like, Jesus.
I mean, that was an any percent speedrun. That wasn't collecting all the Chaos Emeralds.
Uh-huh.
But
yeah, but still, that's pretty good.
That is very good. It's just, I think platforming games lend themselves very well to speedrunning.
I do too. I definitely think that as well. I think a lot of the platforming games would enjoy this as well.
I think one more I would like to try, speaking of platforming, Ori and the Blind Forest.
Yeah, that would be a good one too, I think.
In fact, I'm curious to see if there's any... of course there is.
I'll say there probably is. What are you talking about?
Any percent.
Uh-huh.
I would have my work cut out for me.
Was it like 10 minutes?
Almost! 11 minutes, 10 seconds.
Jeez.
Holy shit! Because I just beat the game not that long ago. I beat the definitive edition a couple months ago, and it took me like 3 hours.
All right.
4 hours. The 100%, and that was 100%.
Yeah.
The world record time for 100% is 1 hour, 8 minutes. I would have my work cut out for me if I tried to...
yeah, just a bit.
Like... I would be a little scared that if I were to do like any sort of speed run, the time that it would take for me to perfect that speed run, I'm afraid that by the time I managed to do it, I would hate the game and want nothing more to do with it.
Yeah, that's my fear too. Is that like these games all sound fun and amazing to speed run and things like that. Like I'm playing this game for hours and hours on end for a very, very long time. I would feel like I would eventually grow to hate these games too, and I don't want to do that for some of them.
Yeah, I have that fear. It's just, I mean, I'm curious to hear what speedrunners out there who are listening to this episode have to say. It's like, you spend so much time on a particular game, and you finally get it down to where you want it to be. Like, once you finally reach that goal, do you ever play it again? Like, do you ultimately want nothing more to do with this game?
Do you do a quote unquote casual run of the game where you just play it for fun and not try and beat it, or just to have fun and just enjoy the game for being what it is? It's
so I'm curious to hear. So regardless, it's a thriving community. It looks like a lot of fun. A lot of people have fun doing it, and now with the extra elements of some major events that are also raising money for charity, it's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good. So, anything else you would like to add?
For those who are listening, if you are curious about speedrunning, and if it's a particular game, more than likely there's already a community built up around it. You can always look online for it. I know that, generally speaking, a lot of the people that I watch that do speedrunning always strive and point out that they are a friendly sort, that if you have any questions, they can just ask them and they will do the best they can to answer them for you. and just try and have it be that you can like enjoy the game and get into it, and hope you enjoy it as much as they do.
Yeah, and it's if even if you just want to watch, I mean, you have Twitch, you have YouTube. There is a particular YouTube user that I will call out because he does a wonderful job explaining the history of the world record. Let me find him for you. He goes by the name of Summoning Salt, both on YouTube and on Twitch.
All right.
He's a speedrunner on his own, but he also does like these 20 to 30 minute videos explaining the world record progression.
Okay.
Like, he'll usually start off with a video of like, this is the original world record, how it was established, and then it will go into, well then, this was the world record until somebody discovered this glitch.
Yeah, and then he showcases that.
Yeah.
Things like that.
So, like the first video I ever saw from Summoning Salt, it's a 20-minute video talking about World 4-2 in the original Super Mario Bros.
Yeah.
And how a glitch in that level manages to shave hundredths of a second.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was one I saw like a couple weeks ago where he talks about the world record progression for Punch-Out.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting stuff. So, and of course there's speedrun.com where you can see, the world record times for a bunch of games, as well as what the rules are for a particular speedrun.
Yeah.
So, that's all there. So, plenty of resources out there for you. So, I think that is going to do it for us. So if you have any questions, thoughts, comments on this episode or any other episode of downloadable content, you can get a hold of us on the website, dlcpodcast.com. Click the feedback button. Send us your thoughts. Give us ideas for future episodes. We have a few more coming up, to wrap up 2018 with, now that we're in our autumn block here.
Yeah.
And also every single episode is found on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, and Google Play Music. So get out there and break your thumbs trying to speedrun these games. So
yeah. I do know too that a lot of the people
words.
Yeah, words. What are words? If you want to, again, do you want to do speedrunning and like you found out about it from us, just like drop us a line, or if you are a speedrunner, like Brian said earlier, just like you want to comment on something that we said or kind of fact check us or correct us, go ahead and do so. We take criticism of all kinds, positive, negative, what have you.
Yes. We also like cookies.
I'm a fan of chocolate chip cookies myself, so if you want to send chocolate chip cookies my way, I'll take them.
Yep. Food is good. Food is good. Especially Ron. I mean, the poor boy. So, all right. With that, all it remains for me to do is to thank Ron for being on this episode with me. And on that note, I am Brian. Have a good one, everybody.